She's there in every single picture. Same face, same eyes, same smile. But she's not supposed to be here. She's not supposed to exist. I first noticed her on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, the kind of day when the hallways smell like damp textbooks and the hum of the fluorescent lights is louder than your own thoughts. I was in the dusty back room of Lincoln High's library, helping Mr. Wilkes, our history teacher, scan decades worth of class photos for the school's digital archive. The frames were lined up against the wall, rows of frozen smiles, outdated haircuts, and awkward teenage poses. Some of these photos were older than my parents. I was flipping through them, half bored, when something caught my eye. At first I thought it was a coincidence, a familiar-looking face popping up once or twice. But as I kept going, my stomach started to twist. She was in every single one, from the mid-90s to last year. Same long dark hair, same pale skin, same cold, unblinking eyes. She never aged. She never changed clothes. She never even changed her position. Always somewhere near the edge of the group, half in shadow. By the time I reached the 2002 photo, my hands felt cold. I leaned in, squinting at the tiny print. She wasn't smiling like the others, no. She was looking straight at the camera. No, straight at me. And that's when I have to ask you something. If you're into creepy stories like this, you're going to want to stick around, because what I'm about to tell you is only the beginning. Hit like so more people hear about this, and subscribe if you don't want to miss what I found next. Trust me, you'll want to see it before she sees you. I sat back in my chair, staring at the photo. Mr. Wilkes noticed me zoning out. "You okay, kid?" "Yeah, who's this?" I pointed to the girl. He adjusted his glasses, squinted, then shook his head. "No idea. Probably a sibling of one of the students. These old pictures are full of random faces." But his tone was off. Too quick. Too dismissive. I brushed it off, at least I tried to. But my curiosity had teeth, and it bit deeper every time I looked at another frame. The next photo, 2001. Same girl, same position, same dress. And again, those eyes. The fluorescent lights above flickered, and I felt a sudden chill, like the air around me had turned to ice. I pulled the next frame from the stack. 1999. My hands froze. There she was again, identical in every way. Except this time, her head was tilted just slightly, as if she knew I was looking, as if she was waiting. "Mr. Wilkes, seriously, who is this?" My voice came out sharper than I meant. He hesitated. For a moment he looked scared. Then he forced a chuckle. "Urban legend, probably. Every old school's got one. Don't waste your time." But that's the thing. When someone tells me not to look into something, that's when I can't stop. I went through the next 5 photos, my pulse picking up with each one. It didn't matter if it was 1995 or 2019. She looked exactly the same. Students around her changed, hairstyles changed. Even the school building in the background looked different in some years. But she was frozen in time. And then I found something worse. In the 2007 picture, she wasn't in the background anymore. She was in the front row, closer. Her gaze locked straight onto the lens. I swear her lips were parted, just enough to suggest a whisper. My skin crawled. The clock in the corner of the room ticked louder than usual. Outside, rain tapped against the library windows. I could hear my own breathing in the silence between each sound. Mr. Wilkes busied himself with another box, pretending not to watch me. But I could feel it. That sensation you get when someone's eyes are on you. And I knew, somehow, that they weren't his eyes. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of the picture. I zoomed in on her face. Grainy, but clear enough to see the details. The pale, almost gray skin, the sharp cheekbones, the flat, emotionless stare. Then, something impossible happened. The image on my phone blinked. I dropped it. The clatter echoed in the empty library. My phone landed face up, the screen black. I picked it up with shaking hands. When I opened the camera roll, the photo was gone. No deleted file, no corrupted image, it was just gone. Like it had never been there. My mouth went dry. I looked back at the original frame. She was still there, same as before, but her head was tilted a little further now. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the sky was still heavy and gray. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, closer than before, like she was leaning in, about to whisper something I didn't want to hear. I decided I couldn't just ignore it. I had to know who she was. The school library opened at 7:30, so I got there early. The place was empty except for the hum of the air conditioner and the faint smell of old paper. I went straight to the archives, a cramped, dust-covered corner with metal filing cabinets and stacks of yearbooks dating back to the 1970s. I pulled out the 1994 yearbook first. My fingers left clean streaks in the layer of dust on the cover. I flipped to the senior class page. My heart started pounding. There she was, back row, far left. Same dark hair, same clothes, same expression. I scanned the names under the photos. The caption where her name should have been was blank. No printing error, just nothing. I grabbed the 1989 yearbook. My hands were shaking, and there she was again, identical. No aging, no difference at all. Same position, same eerie blankness where a name should be. My stomach felt heavy like I'd swallowed a stone. As I kept going back in time, 1985, 1980, 1976, my mind started screaming at me to stop. But my hands wouldn't listen. Each photo was the same. She had been here for decades, always in the class pictures, always nameless. A shadow fell across the page. I looked up and saw Mr. Howard, the oldest teacher in the school, standing in the aisle. His face was pale, his eyes darting around like he was making sure we were alone. "You shouldn't be looking at those," he said, voice low. "Who is she?" I asked. "She's in every photo. No one seems to know her name." His jaw tightened. "Stop asking. I'm telling you for your own good." That's not an answer. He took a step closer, his voice barely a whisper now. "She's not a student. She never was. And the more you see her, the more she sees you." Before I could reply, he walked away, disappearing down the hallway. I followed, but when I turned the corner, he was gone. Just gone. Like he had melted into the air. The rest of the day was a blur. Classes felt longer, the halls quieter. No one mentioned Mr. Howard. When I asked one of the other teachers where he went, they just frowned. "Who?" "Mr. Howard, the history teacher. Older guy, glasses." They shook their head. "There's no Mr. Howard here." That's when the fear really set in. I knew I had spoken to him less than an hour ago, but it was like the school had erased him completely. That night I was at my desk trying to study when I heard a faint tap-tap at my window. My room's on the second floor. I froze, listening. Another tap. I swallowed hard and forced myself to look. Nothing. I sat back down. Then I noticed the box. It was sitting on my bed. I hadn't heard the door, hadn't heard anyone come in. The box was plain cardboard, sealed with old, yellowing tape. My name was written on the top in black marker, letters jagged, uneven. My hands felt numb as I tore it open. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. They looked like they had been printed from an old film camera, slightly faded, edges curling. In every single one, there I was, walking to school, eating lunch, sitting in class. But in the background, sometimes far, sometimes near, She was there. The last photo made me drop the whole stack. It was taken from the foot of my bed. I was asleep in it, and she was standing in the corner of my room, her head tilted, her eyes locked on the camera. I backed away, my heart pounding in my ears. My breathing turned shallow. I checked every corner of my room, every shadow, every closet. Empty. But the air felt wrong, thick and cold, like the room was underwater. I shoved the box into the closet and slammed it shut, but it didn't matter. I could still feel her there, watching. The next day I went to the library again. I don't even know why. Curiosity? Obsession? Or maybe something else was pulling me back. This time I looked for any mention of her in the old school newspapers, club rosters. Anything. Nothing. She was a ghost in the records. No name, no awards, no sign-ins, no sign-outs. Just those photographs year after year. As I sat there, the lights above me flickered. Once, twice, then went out completely. The only sound was the creak of the old wooden shelves settling. But underneath that, another sound. Footsteps. Soft, deliberate. Moving between the aisles. Hello? My voice cracked. No answer, just the steps. Closer. Slow. The hairs on my neck stood up. I stood moving toward the doorway. But as I stepped into the hall, the lights blinked back on. The library was empty. Or so I thought. When I turned back to the table, there was a single photograph lying on top of the yearbook I'd been reading. I hadn't put it there. It was me, standing in the library, right now. But behind me, over my shoulder, the girl was there, smiling. I don't remember leaving the library. I just remember running. My backpack slammed against my spine, my breath coming in ragged bursts. By the time I reached home, my hands were trembling so badly I could barely fit my key in the lock. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was inside my room, not watching from outside, not lurking in the hall, but in the room with me. I kept telling myself it was just the photographs messing with my head. Just paranoia. At 2:17 a.m., my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You found me. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, but before I could reply, another text came. Now I'll find you. The phone slipped from my hands. The next morning I decided I needed proof, not just for myself, but for anyone who thought I was losing it. If she was real, or whatever she was, I was going to catch her in the act. I set up my phone to record video while I went through the yearbooks again. The halls were quiet. Most students were still in class. I sat at the same table in the library, yearbooks spread out like an open wound. Every page was another cut. I flipped to the most recent class photo. For a second, I thought I'd gone mad, because I wasn't looking at last year's picture anymore. It was a photo I had never seen before, a class I didn't recognize. And there I was, standing in the back row, next to her. My stomach turned cold. I slammed the yearbook shut and checked my phone. The recording was still going. I rewound a few seconds, expecting to see myself flipping pages. Instead, the video showed me sitting perfectly still, eyes locked on something across the room. And there she was, in the far corner, standing completely still, her head tilted in that unnatural way. I dropped the phone. The clatter echoed, but beneath it, another sound, a whisper, my name. I bolted out of the library, but the hallway didn't look right. The walls were covered with framed photos, hundreds of them stretching down both sides as far as I could see. My pulse pounded in my ears. I didn't remember this hallway existing. I took a step forward. The air was heavy, pressing against my chest. I glanced at the nearest frame and froze. It was a photo of me. Not from school, from last night, asleep in my bed. I turned to the next frame. Another photo of me. This one from 2 days ago walking to class. Then another, and another. Every frame was me, and her. At first, in the background, then closer, and closer, until in the last frame she was right beside me, her face inches from mine, smiling like she had been smiling in every class picture for 30 years. My knees felt weak. I turned back toward the entrance, but the hallway stretched endlessly now. The photos multiplied, and in each one she was moving, just slightly, like a flipbook animation. Her head tilting, her smile widening. I ran. The hallway bent in ways that didn't make sense, corners looping back on themselves. I passed the same photo 3-4 times, but each time I was standing in a different position inside it, closer to her. The lights above flickered, and the frames rattled on the walls. Then all at once, the glass in every frame shattered. The sound was deafening. I shielded my face, but when I looked up, the photos were gone. And she was standing in the hallway. Up close, she didn't look like a student. She didn't look like anything human. Her skin was pale, but it wasn't just pale. It was empty, like the color had been drained from her. Her eyes were black, too deep, too still. Her smile was small but wrong, the kind of smile you see in a photograph that you know wasn't meant for the camera. "You shouldn't have looked," she said, her voice low and soft, but carrying through the hallway like it was inside my head. "Now you're part of it." I stepped back, my heel hitting a broken frame. "Part of what?" My voice cracked. She tilted her head again. "The picture." The world around me warped. The hallway walls peeled away, revealing an endless expanse of darkness. Frames floated in the void, hundreds, thousands, all glowing faintly. I saw decades of class photos drifting in the air, all connected by some invisible thread. And in every one, she was there. And now, so was I. I saw myself in a dozen different frames, smiling, frowning, frozen mid-blink. Sometimes next to her, sometimes behind her. But always there, always the same age, always trapped. I turned to run, but my feet didn't move. My hands wouldn't respond. I looked down and realized I wasn't standing anymore. I was posing, shoulders squared, face forward, eyes locked on the lens. She stepped beside me, her cold fingers brushing my arm. "Smile," she whispered. The flash burned white. When I woke, if it was waking, I was standing in the school hallway again. Students walked past me without a glance. I shouted at them, waved my arms, but no one saw me. No one heard me. I was invisible. I ran to the library, heart pounding, and found the wall of class photos. My eyes darted through the frames until I saw it. This year's picture. And there I was, standing in the back row, right next to her. Same clothes I was wearing that day in the hallway. Same frozen smile. My skin pale, my eyes empty. I pressed my hands to the glass, screaming. But the me inside the frame didn't move. He just smiled. That's when I realized. This was forever. I was part of the wall now, just like her, trapped in every photo from now until whenever the next one looked too closely. And somewhere in the distance, in that endless dark hallway of frames, she was already watching someone else.